I want to write something down before I can't anymore. Not because I think you'll listen. Most people don't. Harold didn't. 3 of my children didn't. And I was 43 years old before I understood why none of them could hear what I was saying. Because I wasn't saying it. Not plainly. So this is me saying it plainly. I am 97 years old. I live alone on 12 acres outside Brandon, Manitoba. I have outlived my husband by 36 years. I have outlived 3 of my 5 children. One of them was 52 when he died. One was 67. One was 71. I am writing this to you the way I wish someone had written it to Harold, when he was, say, 44. You are probably somewhere around 44. Maybe younger. Maybe not much older. Either way, this is for you. Dear younger person who thinks they have time. I want to start with a Tuesday morning in October 1971. I was hanging wash on the line behind the house. My left forearm was in a cast. I'd broken it 3 weeks before, slipped on the cellar stairs carrying 2 jars of pickled beets. Healed wrong. Still aches now, 56 years later, when the cold comes in or when I'm working up to saying something I'd rather not say. Harold came out of the barn that morning. He walked across the yard the way he always walked, fast, head down, already thinking about the next thing. I watched him and I thought, he moves like a man who believes movement is the same thing as living. I did not say that to him. I hung another shirt on the line. That is where I want to start. Because that moment, that one morning, is the whole thing. Everything I have to tell you is already inside it. Harold was 44 years old that October. He was not sick. He was not unhappy. He was busy. He was always busy. He worked 14-hour days as a matter of habit, the same way some people breathe, without deciding to, without thinking about whether they should. I want to tell you what busy did to Harold. And then I want to tell you what it did to 2 of my children. And then, and this is the part I'd rather skip, I want to tell you what I allowed. Because I was not a bystander in this. But first you need to understand one thing about the kind of dying I'm describing. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't arrive like a storm you can see coming across the field. It happens the way soil exhausts itself, slowly, across many seasons, until one day nothing grows and you stand there wondering when it changed. Harold died at 61. The doctor called it a coronary. I call it what it actually was. 17 years of the body sending signals and one man who had decided, somewhere before I ever met him, that his body's signals were not worth listening to. He hadn't slept more than 5 hours a night since 1958. He ate standing up at the counter more often than sitting down. He hadn't taken a full day off, not one full day, no farm work, no errands, no fixing something, in the 11 years before he died. I counted them once, went back through the ledger. 11 years. He did not smoke. He did not drink. He thought those were the things that killed men. He was wrong. This is what I want you to hear, and I'm going to say it more than once because it took me 97 years to say it this clearly. The habits that kill people slowly are not the ones that feel like habits. They're the ones that feel like virtue. Harold's busyness felt like virtue. His sleeplessness felt like dedication. His refusal to stop felt like strength. He wore all of it the way a man wears a good coat, with pride. I am going to leave the letter format for a moment and speak to you directly. You. I don't know if you're exhausted or restless or somewhere in between those two things, but I'd place a fair bet you're running some version of Harold's program. Maybe not on a grain farm, maybe at a desk, maybe on a phone. Maybe you call it productivity. Maybe you call it ambition. Maybe you haven't given it a name at all. It's just how you operate. The same way Harold's walk across the yard was just how he walked. Some of you are doing it right now. You're watching this in a 10-minute gap between two things that also don't stop. I want to ask you something Harold could never answer. When was the last time you were bored? Not distracted. Not resting because you had to. Genuinely, quietly, without agenda, bored. Harold couldn't remember. When I asked him, this was 1969, he was 42. He looked at me like I'd asked him what color the inside of a wall was. I am going back to the letter now. Dear you, still 44, still busy, still certain there will be time later. I want to tell you about my son, Robert. Robert was Harold's son in all the ways that mattered. Same walk, same head down hurry. By 38, he was running a grain operation twice the size of ours and a side business repairing combines. He slept 6 hours on a good night. He ate fast food from a bag in his truck for, by his own accounting, most of his adult life. He would not go to the doctor. He said doctors were for people who had already given up. He died at 52. Stroke. I have a photograph of Robert at 47. He looks, and I am not being unkind. He was my son. He looks worn through. The way a work glove looks when it's been used well past the point it was designed to be used. I didn't see it when it was happening. I see it now every time I look at the photograph. My left forearm started aching the day he died. It ached for 3 weeks straight. I noticed that. Now I want to tell you about my daughter, Carol. Carol was not Harold. Carol was careful. Carol read. Carol slept 8 hours and cooked real food and walked every morning. But Carol worried. I mean, she worried the way some engines run constantly, quietly, in the background, whether or not there was anything to power. She worried about the farm after Harold died, worried about her brother's health, worried about her children, then her grandchildren, worried about money she had, about weather, about the country, about everything. She was not careless with her body. She was careless with her mind. She died at 67. Her heart, too, in the end. I thought about that for a long time. What I concluded, and I may be wrong, I am not a doctor and I am not certain of much, is that the body does not distinguish between the stress of doing too much and the stress of fearing too much. Both of them run the same internal machinery. Both of them wear out the same parts. The habits I'm describing are not dramatic. That's the whole point. They are not cigarettes and whiskey. They are never stopping, never resting, filling every quiet moment with noise or worry or motion. They are treating sleep as a negotiable inconvenience, treating food as fuel that you pour in fast so the engine keeps running, treating the body like a farm implement, something to be used hard and maintained only when it breaks. Harold maintained his tractor better than he maintained himself. I am not being poetic. That is a literal fact. He changed the tractor's oil on a schedule. He had not been to a doctor in 14 years when the coronary came. You probably don't own a tractor, but you own something you maintain more carefully than yourself. Your car, your phone, something. I am 97. My forearm aches in the cold. I move slowly. I don't sleep through the night. But I am here, and I have been here a long time, and I want to tell you what I think that comes from. Not because I did everything right. I didn't. I allowed Harold to run himself down for 17 years and told myself it was his choice. It was. But I also never said plainly, without softening it, "You're going to die early if you keep this up." I said it with looks. I said it with sighs. I said it in ways that gave him room not to hear it. That is the thing I'd take back. What I did do, and I don't know if this is why I'm still here or just something I happened to do, was stop. Not dramatically. Not because I read something. Just I stopped filling every gap. After Harold died, after 1989, I started leaving the mornings alone. No tasks before 9, no radio, no ledger, just the kitchen, the window, the light coming in flat across the fields the way it does in February, gray and thin and very honest. I started sleeping until I woke up instead of waking up to do something. I started eating at the table alone and not rushing through it. I am not saying these things changed my biology. I am saying I stopped spending whatever I had left as fast as I could spend it. That's all. The 97 years are not a trophy. 3 of my children didn't get there. Harold didn't get there. They were not weaker than me. They were not worse people. They just never stopped spending. I think, and I notice my left forearm as I write this, the old brake pressing in the way it does when I'm saying something true. I think most people know they're doing it. Not in a clear way. Not in words, but somewhere they know. The same way a field knows when it's being asked to produce more than it has. It doesn't announce it. It just starts giving less. You might be giving less already, not in ways other people notice. In ways you feel at 11 o'clock at night when you're too tired to sleep properly, but too wired to stop. That's the number I'd pay attention to. Not your cholesterol. Not your weight. That 11 o'clock feeling. How long has it been there? Back to the letter now, near the end. Dear you, I am not telling you to slow down because I think you'll listen. I am writing this because Harold deserves someone who said it plainly while there was still time. You still have time. I don't know how much. Neither do you. But it is more than you'll have later. The habits that are killing you slowly do not feel like habits. They feel like who you are. That is the only reason they work. You're allowed to put something down, even if you've been carrying it for 20 years. Even if you don't know what you are without the weight of it. Harold would have been 80 this March. I still set 2 cups out sometimes in the morning before I remember. Old habits. The ones worth keeping are the ones that leave you more of yourself at the end of the day than you had at the start. Harold never had more at the end. He only ever had less. Don't be Harold. Edna, 97, Manitoba.